LeBron James just became the first player in NBA history to score 50,000 points, and he's been showing no signs of slowing down, where since February he's been one of the most efficient and high volume scorers in the league. But at age 40, how exactly is James still doing this? Does he have the same bounce and explosiveness that he had in his 20s? Or is his skill and basketball IQ the main driving force to his game today? In this video, we're going to do a deep dive on the stats and film to see exactly how LeBron is still a top tier scorer in the league. Now, the first place where we have to start is LeBron's game out in transition. James so far this year is averaging over 6 points per game on the break, which is the 4th highest across the league. In the open court, LeBron is still a freak of nature, where he has the speed to fill lanes and beat the defense down the court, the verticality to shoot up and catch lobs above the rim, plus the physicality to bump and hold his own in the paint. Watch him on this play move Max Christie above the free throw line, creating all this space behind him to catch and finish. And then along with all that, James also has really good body control, where he can absorb bumps while in mid-flight towards the basket.
Back to James, counted and a foul.
When finishing in traffic, LeBron also has a variety of ways to find scoring windows. He's got the control to pick up and explode off 2 feet, while also being able to gather and step through contact with strides. I love this finish here, where LeBron's again playing with a head of steam, and watch him pick up, bring the ball above his shoulders, to then simply step through contact and chisel his way into this left-hand finish. And this play may seem pretty straightforward, but it takes a ton of strength to be able to step through contact like this and put up a soft finish. Now off the dribble, LeBron's never had the shiftiest handle. He's not the kind of guy that's going to put together a bunch of combinations to break down the defense. Most of his moves are simple straight line drives, which is generally more than enough to create angles to the basket. But LeBron is very good at using his feet to pick up momentum. Off the bounce, James loves to use these skips, which he can use to both pull the defense out of their stance and load himself up to explode. One of his go-to moves is to push the ball across to his left to then gallop and explode downhill. And if James gets the defense on their heels like this, it's pretty much game over.
LeBron, here he goes with a left hand.
So whether he's filling lanes or leading the break himself, LeBron is still a monster in the open court. Once he gets the defense backpedaling, they're pretty much at his mercy. Obviously, James doesn't quite have the burst that he used to have back in his Cleveland and Miami days, but once he picks up a head of steam, the defense still has no answers for him. Now, when switching over and looking at LeBron's attacking game in the half court, this is where we begin to see some signs of his age. When initiating drives from the standstill, it's tougher for him to channel all that explosiveness, which makes it more difficult for him to create angles off the dribble, as well as lift up through size in the paint. But despite those minor limitations, LeBron still finds ways to both break down the defense and put pressure on the rim. In open space, James still has the quickness to get the defense on his hip. And from this spot, it all comes back to his strength, being able to drive through that contact. I like this move here, where James is going to go between to then again skip his feet up to build momentum. But when the defense tries to step up and eat that space, LeBron's going to use that off arm to swipe and pull himself into this drive.
James goes inside, couple of fakes, backs it in.
And while LeBron's handle at times may appear stiff, he does have a really good feel of angles and footwork. Notice here how he's going to slightly glide out to his left, setting up the simple crossover back to his right. And once James has the defense on his hip, there's just no good answers. This is actually a pretty shifty move right here, where LeBron's going to take one dribble off the screen to then immediately curl the ball all the way across for this in and out. And this perfectly shows how efficient LeBron's game is, because out from the logo, he only needs 3 dribbles to come off, beat the switch, and slice through traffic to get to the rim. We can see more of that ball control on this play, where James turns the corner off the screen, then pushes it across to his right. And without breaking his downhill momentum, watch him split his stance and transfer the ball back through.
LeBron left hand.
And even in year 22, LeBron is still a real matchup problem in the post, having the strength to bully smaller guards, plus the quickness to dust 4s and 5s facing up. And because he's developed into a really good outside shooter, that generally forces the defense to step up and get in his airspace, which makes it easier to initiate blow-bys. The Lakers here are just going to run a 1-4 flat, giving James all the time and space he needs to work.
And being the head of their defense
And LeBron's balance and body control also plays a big factor in his postgame, where that stable base allows him to use different shot fakes and pivots. This move here reminds me of his new teammate, where James first attacks hard across the paint to then pick up and decelerate off that left foot and casually step across with his right. So at age 40, LeBron has both the physical tools and skills to get buckets at the rim. He's an absolute bull with the ball. He's got great footwork and ball control, while being very good at reading angles and creating driving lines. All these tools still make James one of the most efficient deep paint scorers in the league. And these are all consistent ways he can generate points on a night-to-night basis. But like I previously said, LeBron over the years has also taken some big leaps as an outside scorer, and we can start by looking at his mid-range game. When playing downhill, if the defense collapses and crowds the paint, James always has the option to pick up and drift out into a fadeaway. And some of these shots have a high degree of difficulty, where James is heavily off balance while drifting at awkward angles. His initial drive here gets walled off, so James in response is going to pick up and turn over towards the middle, and with his hips squared up with the sideline, and OG and Anunoby shifting up to provide extra help, James still has the control and lift to turn and sink this jumper.
turns and scores. LeBron.
And James also creates a big chunk of his pull-ups in isolation, where he likes to use that driving threat to push the defense back, to then step into these in-rhythm pull-ups. And James can pretty easily create these shots against switches. Again, because slower-footed bigs have to respect that driving threat, they commonly sit back and give him too much airspace. Off the dribble, one of LeBron's go-to moves is his hezzy pull-up, where he again skips his feet up to set up the blow-by, but if he feels the defense leaning back, he's then going to step into a left-right jumper. Notice here how he's going to again float up, which is enough by itself to push this defender below the free throw line. Now, it's also important to note that James this year hasn't been super accurate on these in-between looks, and that's mostly because many of these shots are super difficult, where LeBron's aggressively exploding into open space to then rise up for a heavily off-balance jumper. And granted, LeBron is a very good difficult shot maker, but it's tough to stomach these type of looks in high volume. And I think he's been way more accurate when he's both in rhythm and on balance. And that's also been the case with his three-point shooting, where so far this year, LeBron's shooting over 44% on all his catch-and-shoot threes. Since acquiring Luka, LeBron's been playing off the ball for a big chunk of LA's offense, and he's been getting a ton of wide-open spot-up threes. For the first time in his career, LeBron might be playing with somebody who's a better playmaker than he is. So throughout the course of games, he can just play the role of a spot-up shooter, and the Lakers' offense is still in good hands. And off the ball, LeBron's also been doing a ton of damage as a cutter. And this is where his basketball IQ plays a huge factor, by both reading the defense and timing his cuts perfectly. On this play, as soon as Austin Reeves turns the corner off the screen, and this weak side defender slides across the paint, James in the weak side corner wastes no movement by cutting along the baseline and being at the rim in the blink of an eye. The timing on this cut is elite, where the Warriors are going to switch this ball screen, but notice how LeBron waits for a split second, giving Austin Reeves time to pull Green all the way up towards the elbow. And once the paint is cleared, James is going to again dart towards the basket. And again, playing alongside Luka has made life a lot easier for him, where Doncic creates breakdowns, and James can finish the play. So off the ball, I think LeBron fits perfectly alongside Luka. He's turned into an elite shooter off the catch. His physical tools and IQ makes him a high-level cutter. Plus, he's also one of the best play finishers in the NBA. I think when you combine all that off-ball scoring, along with James still being one of the best players in the league in the open court and around the basket, that's easily enough to make him a top 5 scorer in the league right now. The only guys who I think that are clearly in front of him is Nikola Jokic and SGA. But besides that, I think a strong case could be made that LeBron today is a top 3 scorer in the NBA. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments who the kids should break down next. The kids here.